the most interesting thing about my conversion in September 2011 is it ever happened at all. I was completely atheistic. I didn't believe in God. I used to tell people God didn't exist and upset them, which I'm very ashamed of now. Anyway, September the 7th, 2011, I was working as a private carer for a lady in her own home, although I kept my flat in my hometown of Ryde. On that day, I had a day off, so I thought I'll go back to my flat. So I drove back to my hometown and parked up, ready to go to the shop to get some bread and milk. Only instead of getting bread and milk, I walked into a Catholic church. My feet just carried me through this open doorway, and as I went through this doorway, the priest was just coming out, and I thought, well, I can't walk out now, I'm going to have to stay here, because it would look strange. So I decided to sit at the back and be unintrusive, and he started saying what I now know as the Angelus. I'd never heard it before in my life. I didn't know what was happening. I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing here? I don't believe in God. I don't do churches. And as I sat there, I suddenly felt a sense of peace, and I thought, I feel like I'm in the right place. And I thought, well, why are you thinking that? For a person who had a history of paganism and New Age and everything connected with it. I sat there for about half an hour, and the mass finished, and I went back to my flat in Ryde and reflected on what had happened. And I thought, well, I don't know why you did that, forget about it. I went back to my job, and then on the 15th of September, I had another day off. So I decided to drive back to my flat, and instead of going there, I stopped over Quoir Abbey. A local Benedictine monastery near my home. I don't know why I went in there, because I didn't believe in God, and I thought, why am I here? Parked in the car park, and I thought I would look round. I went into the church and I sat there for about another half hour and thought, why am I here? Why am I in a church for the second time in just over a week? What's happening? Anyway, after this, I came out and I saw a sign for the bookshop. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to have a look and see what's in there. And I walked in, I walked up to the lady at the counter, and the words, how to become a Catholic, came out of my mouth. And I thought, where did that come from? And she sort of looked at me, gave me a big smile, and said, I've got just the book for you. Walked to the back of the bookshop, and she picked up a book called Thinking of Becoming a Catholic, a CTS book. Anyway, it's the first religious book I've ever bought in my life. And she also gave me the number to St Mary's, the church I've been in on 7th September. The interesting thing about the 7th September of 2011 was it was the 90th anniversary of the founding of the Legion of Mary. A Catholic lay organisation I've never heard of before, which becomes more relevant later on. Anyway, I didn't even get out the car park. I rang this number, spoke to the secretary of St Mary's, who a couple of years later became my landlady. I told her that I was thinking of becoming a Catholic, and she said, I've got a number for you to ring, a lady who runs the RCIA course. So I took this number, I rang this lady, who was delighted to hear from me, and she said the course will start late November to early December. And then everything went quiet. I didn't actually go back to church again. I don't think I needed to. I think that was God's time to give me time to think what I wanted to do, to say my fiat, so to speak. But anyway, between that time and when the course started, I changed my job. I left the private carer's job I was in, and I started a job as a cleaner in a nursing home. Anyway, she rang me and said that the course would start on the last Wednesday in November. But unfortunately, that day I was working a late shift, and so I thought, well, obviously it's not meant to be Catholicism, so it's not for me. And so I thought, no more of it. Anyway, the following week I had a day off, so I thought, oh, I'll just go along. Just out of interest, I'm not going to stay, I'm not interested. But so I went to the church and rang the doorbell to the hall next to it, and lady answered and said, are you Caroline? And I said yes. And she said, would you like to come in and join us? And there's quite a few people on the course, some lapsed Catholics, other people coming back into the church, a lady who wanted to be baptised along with her daughter. And so I sat down and they showed us a slideshow. And I just sat there thinking, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You don't believe in God. Anyway, I suddenly become quite engrossed. Then the following Wednesday, I pulled a muscle in my leg and I thought, well, I can't go, I'm in pain. So I decided not to go. And I was sitting at home that evening watching television and I thought, what am I doing here? I should be there. And I thought, well, this lady's not going to have me back now. But anyway, the next day I rang her and explained that why I didn't come. And she said, well, come next week, which I did. And then I never missed another one right until the day almost of my confirmation. So the interesting thing was I didn't go back into that church until the Christmas carol service, which I attended. Beautiful, it's so beautiful. There was a lovely choir singing, the organist playing the most beautiful music, and people were singing these Christmas carols, and the atmosphere was just absolutely marvellous. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. In early January, I started attending Mass, and I used to go to the early one because I was very shy and I didn't know anybody. And anyway, I suddenly start thinking, do I really want to become a Catholic? This is time to think about it. So I think it was mid-January, I suddenly thought, yes, I really want to become a Catholic. And as I thought this, I was in a charity shop in Ryde, and I saw something I wanted, so I decided to go to the cash point. I stepped out of the shop, and as I did so, a lady called Annie, who was on my course, walked past me, and I thought, oh, yeah, I really want to ask this lady to become my sponsor. And I called her, and I said, would you like to be my sponsor? And she said, I'll be delighted. So I thought that was really weird because she lived in another town and didn't come to Ryde very often. And she just happened to walk past me at the time I thought I'd like to become a Catholic, which is very strange. Or so I thought. And anyway, I told the lady on the course I wanted to become a Catholic, and she was delighted. So she got me the relevant forms to fill in. And the right of election date was the 25th of February 2012, the very day, exactly 50 years before, I'd been baptised into the Church of England. So an amazing coincidence. I thought this is just so bizarre, exactly the same day of the week as well, Saturday. Then on that day I attended St John's the Evangelist Cathedral in Portsmouth, just on the mainland, south coast, and had a wonderful day there. Got introduced to the outgoing bishop, as he was going to be, Crispin Hollis, who was lovely and shook my hand and welcomed me to the rite of election. And the most marvellous thing was I felt so wonderful, and I thought this is just going to be right for me. And then as time went on, I started having these doubts, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, if I've got to go for a first confession, I tell the priest that I was in the New Age. He's going to tell me to get out of his church because obviously I've done something very wrong. And anyway, the feeling got worse and worse and worse. And one Friday, I decided to go and look for a vicar to be confirmed into the Church of England, which is a strange thing to do. But anyway, I was walking through my hometown of Ryde, and the lady who was going to be my sponsor, who very rarely came to Ryde, happened to stop in the shop, and she saw me and she said, oh, yeah, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. And she said, have you got a few minutes? We can go into St Mary's and pray a rosary. And I thought, well, I'll wait till I'll do that. I'll humour her. I'll go into this church and I'll go and look for a vicar afterwards. So she took me into St Mary's, and we knelt before the Lady Chapel, and I prayed my very first rosary, the Sorrowful Mysteries, on a Friday afternoon. And it suddenly gave me the strength. And I said to her, I tell you the reason why I think you were meant to find me is because I was thinking of not coming to the Catholic Church at all. And she said, well, I am God's ambassador, which she was. Anyway, it gave me the courage to go through the first confession on the 3rd of April of that year. I told the priest about my New Age background and thinking he was going to tell me to get out, and he couldn't have been kinder. He said to me, well, why did you do these things? And I said, stupid. And anyway, he was so kind, and he didn't kick me out of the church, and he didn't say, get out of my church and get out of the Catholic Church, there's no place for you. And it gave me the courage to go through with my confirmation on the 7th of April. The interesting thing was that all my RCI teachers and the lady who sponsored me were all Legion of Mary members. And I've never heard of this organisation, as I say, but it was like Our Lady was leading me in. And on the day of my confirmation, I was really nervous, but couldn't have gone better. I was confirmed by parish priest, and afterwards we went to a reception in the church hall, and a lady beckoned me forward and said, I know what. She said, I think you're going to be the right person to join the Legion of Mary. And on that day, I was joined in the Legion of Mary. So I guess Our Lady was really working in my life. So I think I'd never look back. And I'm approaching my 11th year as a Catholic. And I couldn't be happier.